Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes and I'm brought to you with guest Dave Candito back again for more marvelous old school movie good times. But before the show, we were kind of talking. Dave got himself the full setup for super gaming and car driving all at the same time with the Gran Turismo, the PS2 VR, and the pedals and wheel and all the other bells and whistles that you're going to need. And it's one of those things that I've thought about for a long time. I'm like, man, it'd be pretty fun to get myself a racing wheel. One of those many things I've looked at forever, and now that you got one, it's like, that's got to be something special.
The same. It's funny you say that you want one forever. I too have wanted one forever, but it's never been a huge priority on my list as far as real life priorities, nor silly priorities like, obviously, I have a shelf full of minor priorities that they always came first. Well, trying to help my wife learn how to drive, I thought, I guess it helped that I had a few beers too. But
that's the best decisions are made.
This is a great idea, but
just like the real thing.
If it doesn't help, at least I have a cool new thing to play with.
See, if you drink a handful of more beers, you'll just come home dragging like a Daytona USA that you just like stole out of an abandoned bowling alley.
Exactly. But yeah, so I just did some research, a couple hours worth of looking through reviews and watching a few videos and so on and so forth. At the end of the day, it's one of those things that's like comes down to what color do you want and just go for the best deal you can find. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's just a plastic steering wheel. But that said, it's not just a plastic steering wheel. Once I took that thing out of the box, I got the Logitech
G29 or something like that.
923 or something like that. It's the most updated budget Logitech wheel. And I got it at Best Buy for like $230. But anyway, it was between that and a couple others when I'm like, you know what, $200 something bucks is fine with me. I'm not going to spend any more than that. And because I don't even know if it's going to help yet. But I'm telling you, Ed, I took that thing out and it's pretty fantastic. But that VR, just nuts. But yeah, like you said, a long time. You've been interested in one for a long time. Me too. When I first got a PlayStation, it was one of those things where I played Gran Turismo 2 for a little bit. I never tried one. But
yeah, because 2 was the one I played a lot of because I had a buddy who had that.
Yeah, I played 3 a bit. It was one of those ones where I think it came with my PlayStation 2 when I got it. And it just kind of sat in my cabinet for a while. And 4 was the one that I really went ham on. I played that for hours upon hours. But anyway, yeah, since PS1, I saw that wheel. And I remember telling my sister's ex-husband, like, because he saw me eyeballing, he's like, oh, is that what you want? And I'm kind of like, yeah, I do. I never got it. And it's like one of those things that I'm like...
He gets you a gift where it's like a play school wheel.
Yeah.
makes fucking crazy sounds and shit when you're like slapping it.
Just... But yeah, it's one of those things that I was always really curious about when I was younger. I really wanted one. And I just never got one. But now I got that one, and I'm like, holy moly. So I got the first one at Walmart, but it was the older model, and I didn't realize there was a better deal I could have got, so I didn't open it. And I waited till this morning to go up and swap it out, blah, blah, blah. But even yesterday when I tried out that Gran Turismo 7 with the VR and just using the regular controller, I was like, holy moly. I was probably like going like this on the couch and stuff. I'm like, dude, this is unreal.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I remember once I went to Gran Turismo 3 for PS2, I remember seeing the scenes on that and thinking, like, how does it get more realistic? It looks so good. But of course, back, like as it goes on, it's like that more and more and more it gets better and better. And if you turn on the PS2 Gran Turismo 3, you'd probably be like, what is this trash? Like,
as I said, whenever I think of that realistic stuff, I always think about like when I was a kid playing Sega CD. I literally thought those games looked lifelike. That was what I thought. I was like, they're lifelike, or they're like you're in the cartoon or what have you, and then you kind of go back and it's like an FMV that's like extremely compressed, and you're like, you believe this was, as real as can be? I'm like, yes, I did. But that's how I remember Gran Turismo 3. And I also remember that the other big deal of that is, like every PlayStation generally has these bonus features like in their controllers that Sony pretty much gives up on after about 6 months. Like they put all this research and development into and every single controller has one. But I remember PS3 had the pressure buttons. No,
I
that was
remember.
PS3. I mean, I take back. PS2 had the pressure buttons because on Gran Turismo you could kind of like hold X just slightly, or you can press a little bit harder, a little bit harder, a little bit harder. Of course, Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 used it as well, but like no other games really did. But 3, I know what you mean. They had the 6-axis, so you could like chuck the grenades in Uncharted, and that was like the only game that used it.
I didn't even know that. What I was thinking of was Warhawk 2.
Oh yes.
That I remember that being specifically advertised about the whole like motion thing and being able to fly just by going like that and like this, instead of using your thumbsticks. And I remember seeing it in that game and never again. Maybe there's another game out there that had it, but I wouldn't know.
Well, it's even perfect example. The PS5 has like the pretty much the adaptive triggers or whatever, and like literally the only games I saw that used that was like right in the very beginning, and then like nobody else seems to be using them very often. Maybe you could turn them on. Maybe they just automatically have them off. They're like, people don't like this stuff. I thought my controller was broken when I first got it, because I was like, why is it? I'm pulling the trigger and it just locks up. Like, what the hell is this?
Yes. So I feel like I remember utilizing that in what the hell was it? Call of Duty. I don't remember which one. It's one of the newer ones. I just don't remember which one because I have Call of Duty different ones for both Xbox and PS5.
Yeah, I do the same thing too, where I have some for one system, some for the other. Well,
and then the Gran Turismo 5 actually is weird. So like it's like you have resistance for the brake and gas when you're using the triggers. Mm-hmm. But I never felt that before, so it always throws me off every time.
Yeah,
I'm like it's like it's pretty rare when you find a title that actually utilizes those capabilities of that controller.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny because it's like, speaking of Gran Turismo, is that I have kind of like in a sense, the cheapest like steering wheel you can kind of get, but it's actually kind of a interesting one. It's still nice in itself. And so what it is it's literally just a steering wheel that you put the PS5 controller in and then screw it down, and then you use the gyro controls, but you have a steering wheel to hold on to, and you can reach all the
kind of like a
easily.
Switch.
Yeah, but the nice thing is, if you're just doing the gyro like normally, it's like it's not locked to anything, so it kind of feels weird. But this, it sits there, you put it on your lap, and you're like, oh, it's literally like a wheel. I don't have the pedals or anything, so that's kind of the only bummer. So it makes me feel like I just have to paddle drive it. But it actually is pretty darn impressive, that gyro feature. And the bummer is I haven't found another game on PS5 that uses the gyro turning. Not a single one. Like none of the other, like the rally racing ones, even just like the Need for Speeds, none of them seem to have it. So.
Gosh, this is the Gran Turismo 7. I played about 10 minutes of it before I made my wife try it, and she's like, "Oh, this is weird." And it's pretty funny. She gets I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it. She gets when she gets nervous, her hands get kind of clammy, and
she gets a sweaty palm syndrome.
And when she was done, she just did that initial like driver training thing on the game. It's the very first thing you do in the game.
Where you just drive like the 1940s car. You pretty much just do like the most grandpa like driving experience ever.
Exactly. It's actually an old Aston Martin, I think, is what you're driving.
Oh, is that what you're doing? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
But she gets done, and I take the controller. It's a little sweaty on the sides. I'm like, "Baby, you all right? You feeling all right?" She's like, "This is weird," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, it's better than dying." So
I feel like that sweaty palm thing, it's like, everybody gets sweaty palms if it's like summer or something, but like when that happens more often, it's like there's only a few people I've ever known that kind of had it. My buddy RJ used to get that too. So we pass the controller back and forth, playing Resident Evil or something back in the day, and be like, "Oh yeah, the controller's all nice and moist for me now." Talk about warmed up.
Oh yeah. I also the other day I got the expansion for Diablo 4.
Did you break down and finally get it?
I did. Did you get it?
Not yet, but I kind of been wanting to.
It's pretty great so far. And I'm not even that far along. I guess what I think is pretty great is it's not a lot of downtime. It's just constant fighting. So that's one thing that games like that, it gets kind of old when you're just either walking forever or there's so much time between fights and stuff. I get it, but at the same time, it's I really appreciate it when you have just that constant action, constant loot and everything. But the downside to that is the constant loot is I'm always having to buy, sell and pick up and sell, sell, like sell and I'm like, oh man, I can't keep up with all this gear. But no, it's pretty cool. I've really enjoyed it.
Nice. I'm gonna have to pick that one up because I've been looking at that one. As I said, I've just been finishing up some other things.
A lot of mixed reviews I know on that game.
Well,
but
yeah, that's what I saw. Some people said it was short, but that a lot of times isn't a bad thing in my book. Like I would rather have a game be short and sweet than be long and very drawn out. Like where it's like, okay, dude, this did not need to be this long.
well, and even with because for a long time, short games would piss me off because it's like, what am I paying for? But at the same time, you really got to think like, am I just paying for the same thing over and over, or am I paying for a well thought out, well developed game? You know, and I think I would rather have an excellent short game than, like you said, a game that's just like, why am I playing this?
Yeah, just bloated, and you could tell that they've just fit in a bunch of junk that is only there just to make the runtime seem longer, so that they can post that online. Be like, oh, look at our game's 40 hours long. Yeah, it's like 20 hours of content. You know, one of those ones. So, yeah, and sometimes it's like one of those ones. Some of the best games are those ones. It's like, yeah, maybe you can beat them in like 6 hours, but you can play them over and over. You know, where the game that's like 40-plus hours, like, I'll never play that again.
Yeah, but anyway, so
Yeah.
at midnight, I'll steal your soul. What'd you think about that?
Well, I'm glad you shared this one because we talked about it, I don't know, before, and you're like, oh, you got to check this one out. Here's this random-ass movie, which I really want to know what channel you found this on as a kid because, you know, I guess for just context, At Midnight Takes Your Soul, it's 64?
64, I think.
Yeah, 64, and it's a Brazilian horror movie. So I feel like in America, it's not just going to appear on anything.
No, I wish I could remember where I found this movie. And I didn't watch it from the beginning when I saw it years and years ago. And the truth is, I don't think I even saw this movie at all. I think I had witnessed its sequel.
This Night I'll Possess Your Corpse?
Yes. That's what I believe I saw. And I didn't see the whole thing. I just remember seeing it, and it was just so outlandish and like hilarious. You know, like just the way that this dude, this tall, lanky guy, he looks like Jack Skellington before he became a Skellington, is Coffin Joe is what they call him.
Yeah, I wish they didn't say in the version I watched because I found that later on that dude's name was Coffin Joe. I'm like, I love that name. Like, it was not in the subtitled version that I saw. He's just called Z in that one.
Yeah, I just remember watching it, and I think I had to have been like 11 years old or something. And I remember I found it pretty creepy, but also really funny. And like, I couldn't fathom like how a guy could just get up after getting his butt kicked by like 8 dudes. It was like, you know, there's that time in your life when you're like, no, even if you are watching a horror movie or a supernatural show or an action movie, a superhero movie, you see a man get beat down, like hammer to the head, and you're like, there's no way anything ever could get up after that. But then of course this guy just gets right up. You're like, how? You know, like, can one learn this power?
Well, that's the thing. Is like
a Jedi, but no, it's and then of course there were scenes where, you know, like he takes these beautiful girls and steals them, takes them into his lair, and they're in like a trance or whatever. And I'm just like, dude, this is so weird. And there was English subs on the TV, but I didn't know what language I was hearing. I didn't know where it was from. And
I'm actually kind of surprised that on TV it wasn't a dub version. Just to, you know, it was almost pretty hard to find subtitled stuff back in the day.
Yeah, but yeah, I for years I've that movie's been in the back of my mind. I couldn't remember enough. I couldn't remember enough to research like, what is this? Where is that? And then recently, one day, it finally clicked. No, I'm lying. So it didn't click. I didn't do this on my own. What happened was, my wife, she of course works at a bar down in the middle of town, and one of her regular customers said something to her about, like, after she said, "Oh yeah, I'm from Brazil. I'm from Rio de Janeiro." Blah blah blah. The guy said, "Oh, do you know Coffin Joe?" And she's like, "Yes." She'd never seen the movie. She just knew who the guy was because he's really iconic over there.
Yeah.
I guess there's a ton of other movies he's done outside of this Coffin Joe character. Mm-hmm. She said, "Yeah, I know who that is. I'm really surprised that you know who that is, because a lot of Brazilians don't even know who this guy is." And she's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Coffin Joe." And I'm like, "Coffin Joe." And I'm like, so I look it up. I'm like, "That's the movie. That's the movie I've been searching for like 25 years." And sure enough, I'm like watching the YouTube clips of it, and then finally the other day, that's when I suggested that we watch it, because everybody loves a B movie for one, and a foreign B movie, and an old foreign B movie. You know, like it's always great. And we're watching it, and I'm like, I'm sure it's not going to be like amazing, but it's going to be a B movie, which is entertaining and whatnot. So it ought to be glorious in its own right. And it just, like you were saying in the text, like it's just hilarious how this guy like terrorizes the town, like you said.
Nobody does it. It's like nobody can stand up to this guy. This guy's just like, that's just a town asshole, but like everybody puts up with him.
It's like the day of Good Friday, basically, and he wants meat.
Yeah, I was laughing so hard. He comes home, like that part, I was like dying. He's like, "Woman, give me some meat," you know, and stuff. He's like, "Oh, you can't have meat. It's Good Friday." So he's like, "I don't give a fuck." Like, you know what I mean? Throws the shit out. He's like, "If I'm not getting meat, I'm gonna eat the flesh of a human. I don't care." And then like the part I was laughing so hard is he finally goes down and he gets like some meat,
some lamb.
Yeah, he gets some lamb, and he's sitting there in front of the window. Is like a Catholic parade going on,
watching everybody go by,
and he's just eating meat like. And that priest guy looks at him. He's like, "Oh God!" Gives him like the cross sign and everything like that. He's just sitting there still eating it.
It's like, yeah. You see this? See this leg of lamb here?
Yeah, he just goes, and there's like a guy. It's a little bit later on, but there's a guy like he's in like the bar that he always goes to terrorize. That I don't know how he's still always allowed to go back in every night. Whatever. Whatever. Coffin Joe goes in there and he's like eating a leg of lamb, just nonchalant. And he's like, "Hey, boy, come over here. Take a bite of this. I know I've been just macking on this for the last like 15 minutes, but I want you to. It's real good. Get your teeth right." And he's like, "No, that's a sin." He's like, "You better eat this." He shoves it in his face.
It's like, I want to go to just this local dive in town, where I bring in some like T-bone steak and just go up to some guy who's younger than me. "Hey, see this steak here that I just gently sucked on? I want you to give it a good old nibble. Come on, do it for me." It's hilariously bizarre. It was a good one.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. It's one special. And the thing too is like, I don't think in my entire movie watching life I've ever seen actually a Brazilian movie. Now that I think about it, I think this might be the first one for me. I mean, there's a movie, obviously, there's American movies that have been in Brazil, but like just a straight up, Brazilian-made movie, I don't know if I ever have.
An awesome Brazilian-made movie, not a horror movie. It's called Elite Squad. I think that's the English title, Elite Squad. It's about Brazilian, basically the equivalent to U.S. SWAT units in police departments and sheriff department units or sheriff departments in the U.S. But it's pretty brutal, pretty great. There's no BS for sure, and I guess it's based on a true story. It's pretty crazy.
Elite Squad. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that one up. That sounds actually pretty sweet.
It's a good one. It's a great action movie, and it's not cheesy at all for sure. I think the U.S. takes the cake on making cheesy movies. For the most part. But no, I guess I've seen a lot of Brazilian movies, but that comes with having the wife that's Brazilian. So, but no, yeah, I'm.
It's not like you go down to Brazil, you'd be like, I like only American movies on the TV, yeah. And you just stake a claim, put your American flag outside, put your 10-gallon hat on, just walking around.
Yeah, exactly. The sequel that I think came out like 3 years later, and then there was a third sequel that came out in 2008.
Yeah, I saw that on there. I was like, whoa, like Coffin Joe like returns, an old man to still terrorize people.
What's funny is he didn't even look that old in the 2008 version because I saw a quick clip of it. I'm like, he almost looked younger. But unless the person that I saw was like his son or something, I don't know. But
No, I think it still was because I think Coffin Joe is Jose Marins. I think is his name.
Oh yeah, what's also interesting about that is there's a good chance that he might actually be related somehow to my wife.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because so that guy, I think he's from São Paulo or Minas Gerais. It's I think just northeast of Rio de Janeiro. São Paulo is just west of Rio de Janeiro, I think. But it's from one of those two places. I don't know. But that surname, Marins, speaking with a karaoke accent like I'm actually from there, Marins is not very common, I guess. It's not very common. And a lot of those names that you find are from families that were like pretty well knit because like in people that are growing up in the favelas and stuff, like the basically slum, but some are better than others. Some are a lot nicer than others. They kind of stay together for generations. And it's kind of like in Europe, how, like I read kind of a funny joke about this, like haunted houses are like not a big deal in Europe versus like in the US, there's like movies made of haunted houses by the dozen, because people are always moving from one end of the country to the next and abandoning their family because I don't like them anymore or whatever. It's me right here. And but in Europe, like England and France and whatever, it's like, oh yeah, don't worry about that door shut by itself. That's my great grandpa because he died in that bed over there that I was born in. Like everybody stays in the same house cottage for like 20 generations. So it's like, I know who that ghost is. He's just an asshole. He's But
and we're invested in this place anyway, so we're not leaving.
Yeah, exactly. But in Brazil, a lot of the families that are born there, like it's same thing, generations. If not in the same house, they moved 2 like steps down the street and built a house there. But it's pretty interesting because that's that's her mother's last name is Marins, and
interesting,
and it's one of those things like Smith, Brown, like names that Thompson that you come across here. It's like there's a million of these people, but they're not related. But out there, they kind of are. But it's it was just kind of interesting when I saw that his last name was Marins, and I'm like, maybe you're related. She's like, I actually might be. But
you never know. Yeah, it could be like someone of a cousin or something like that.
It's funny too, like watching him walk around the town, like you said, terrorizing everybody and whatnot. He almost seemed like this, almost like the bizarro world of Abraham Lincoln is what I was thinking in my head. Like,
yeah, he
like
sort of does because he doesn't dress like anybody else there. He's wearing all black. He's got a big old top hat on and everything. Got a beard.
I love his meltdown too. When he gets he starts getting afraid, the windows are opening up, and starts running around his house. And his weird decorations. I mean, the dude's a pallbearer for one, but like the things he hangs his coats on, these like hands hanging out the walls. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, he had some weird stuff there for sure. Well, it's just like his whole thing. It's because it's kind of a weird thing. It's like his thing is like he's like, I need to have a son to pass down my legacy. And when watching it, I was kind of wondering because at first I'm like, is this dude like a vampire or a monster or something like that? He obviously has some kind of supernatural powers, but at the same time, by the end of the movie, I wasn't really too sure. I was kind of like, maybe he's just the town asshole that like everybody's so superstitious here. Anyways, they probably assume
his willpower.
He's just got willpower.
There's a few times where it flashes where his eyes, like it shows that weird
it's just
stuff
like
going
close.
On. And I told Juliana, I'm like, look at his eyes. There's something weird about this guy. And she's like, I think what that is just the emphasis that he's getting angry and about to do something. Because I'm like, I was thinking there's got to be something with this dude because of the weird black stuff going in his eyes, like X-Files or black goo. But But no, I think she was onto something there with the just emphasizing the fact that he was about to do something outlandish. You know, like
It's probably like an anime thing. Then. It's probably like an anime where it zooms in real close and the eyes have like they're all like redded out.
Oh yeah,
for a second. That's probably what it is, but it's just old school special effects.
He's going Super Saiyan.
But I was kind of doing the same thing you were too, because I was going like, oh, does he have fucking like powers there? Is he using like these like mind control powers on these like ladies and whatnot, and all the poor everybody who like for some reason can't fight back. Nobody can fight back against this guy, and he doesn't really look like he's like a tough average. You know, he's not like he's like a big thug or something walking around this town or anything like that. No, he's just he's just a guy that everybody's just like, oh, we just don't we let him in everywhere. We don't mess with him or anything.
He's like the Josh at Walmart, Sonora Walmart.
For like anybody who knows, is just the guy who's like, I don't know, like kind of a gothic like boy
let's
who
just leave that guy alone.
Yeah, just leave him alone. You know, I don't know. He's got the booty shorts on. He's kind of overweight nowadays for some reason.
Is there still a Mike's Pizza in Sonora?
Yeah.
I could just see like you going to Mike's Pizza, you know, and just like having a pint and some good old pepperoni pizza or something, and then like Josh comes in there and just like sitting down next to people, have a bite of my meat.
For a while there, that guy was actually.
I got a hot dog on the bone here. I want you to take a nibble out of.
That was the guy that when I was in college, that guy was so quiet in class, so I made it my job to be as loud as possible to him. So I'd be like, Josh, what's going on, man? Just what's going on? And he's just like, hey, just.
Look who's calling me. I'll have to call him after we're done.
Oh, look at old Rexy there.
Oh shoot, that showed his number, so don't call Rex, please. But
maybe he needs some new friends.
But I tried to give him a call last night. He didn't pick up. I hadn't talked to him in like 4 years. But I was like, well, I hope he's not dead. So luckily, he's not dead, unless it's somebody.
Unless it's a ghost, dead, because just like at midnight, I'll take your soul. There is some weird shit that could happen.
Maybe he wants me to eat a steak, but
on Good Friday or whatever.
I won't do it. I won't do it. Yeah.
I also like how like the whole point too is that old Z here, Coffin Joe's going around, and he just wants to have this son. That's all he really wants. And then he's pissed because his wife can't have a kid. So he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna sick my spider on you and kill you right here.
And then the woman
there's nothing. You didn't give me meat on like when I wanted it, and you don't give me a son. You know what I mean? Coffin Joe's got to search around.
I love that. I've seen that in other things too, like the kind of I want to say stereotypical, but also a little cliche. We're like, you can't give me a child. You're worthless. You worthless woman. What can you even do? You
can't get me a steak either.
Yeah, I love that. The woman he also kills the husband of, and then rapes. She kills herself. And I like how she tells him too, like, I'm gonna kill myself. Like, now that you've raped me and you're leaving, I'm definitely gonna kill myself.
He's like, cool, I'll see you later. He's just like, he's nonchalantly just walks out of there. That's the one thing. He's always laughing the whole time in the movie.
It's like he goes over and like slaps somebody and takes a drink.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? You're gonna fight back? No, you're not.
He's like this. He's this like awesome, ridiculous bully.
Yeah. And then that lady that he does rape, lo and behold, goes to hang herself. And for some reason, the police in this town are very inept too. Like, they never can seem to figure out who the hell the murderer is on any of these like cases and whatnot like that. And he shows up to the funeral.
I love to. So there's that one detective who's like, "Don't you see this? Don't you?" Like, to the other people, like, he's behind. This is evidence right here, and then nobody says anything. It's just like,
He's just like killing people. And, like, I will say, when there is violence, this is kind of the nice thing, is because, like, obviously Brazil doesn't have like the sensory board that like America had in the early '60s. So like they do have some pretty decent violence and so on in it when it does happen. Where it's like, oh, that gets intense, kind of like an Italian movie or something. But yeah, it's like that, and then like he also like is the guy he drowns early on. Is that the husband to the?
That was the husband of the girl he raped.
To the lady. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So he kills both these people. Shows up to both their funerals like only a couple. It feels like only like a couple days apart from each other.
Oh yeah, like 2 or 3 days apart.
Yeah, no one seems to like put two and two together yet.
And it's like clearly a small town too. Like
yeah. It feels like it's like Andy Griffith Town. You know what I mean? But like for.
I love too at the end where that random woman shows up asking for directions to her aunt's house or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you've got like a room with like 9 different dudes. Granted, they don't all look like, season 1 Star Trek William Shatner, but they look a whole lot more inviting than Coffin Joe. She's like, thanks guys, but I'm going with him. Like.
Well, and all the other guys are like, oh, we can't go out. It's Day of the Dead. So we're just going to stay in the bar and drink together because it's scary out there. Yeah, there's ghosts. Ghosts.
I can imagine too, like, think of like if you're at home, and you got done doing whatever shit work you're doing in that town, and you tell your wife, like, I'm going to the tavern. Okay. Like, well, it's Day of the Dead. Well, like, that's a blanket statement. I'm going to go get hammered. And then I'll worry about getting home on Day of the Dead.
Yeah, every day is Tavern Day.
Oh yeah, no, that's a gem for sure. I gotta say.
Oh no, it is special. There's even like there's also the other guy too who like, I think. Was this the guy, the priest or whatever, who he like literally Three Stooges or Coffin Joe like Three Stooges, this guy where he literally pokes his eyes out like whoop, 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 whoop.
Yeah.
Except for it's very violent and like where Three Stooges it's like
that was the doctor.
Yeah, no, okay, it was the doctor. That's right. That's who it was. And then he like literally pokes his fingers all the way in the dude's eyes. The guy's like bleeding out, like he's on the ground, just like can't see it or anything like that. And then Coffin Joe just like pours a bunch of alcohol on him, and then lights his pipe and throws the match on him there, and just watches him burn. And that guy just lays there and takes it.
I mean, he can't move. He ain't got no eyes.
No, he's just like, what's the point? Just let me burn.
Yeah, that's one thing too. Like, again, throughout the show, I'm like, why is this guy so strong? Like, he looks like he weighs 90 pounds.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a wiry sucker.
Yeah, exactly. And nobody stands up to him. Nobody throws a punch at him or whatnot. He just goes to the bar. But there's even like that part of the bar where like the dude like is giving like shit or whatnot. So he like stabs him in the fucking hand right there. Like because they're playing, like he sits down to play his cards and he's like, give up your fucking money. It's like, it's like my life salary. It's like, I don't care. You're going to give me that fucking money. You lost.
Then he gives it back to him because he liked it,
Yeah, pays the doctor off and everything. I just like he does things where like he terrorizes people, but he's like, that's okay. Cover their bills. I got it. It's all fun and games. It's not fun and games to us, Coffin Joe.
He asks the girl at the bar for a drink, and her dad gives it to her. He's like, "Was I talking to you?" Like that guy's like, oh, man. If 1960s rural Brazil had a biker gang, he would be the president of that gang. Like,
yeah, most definitely. Like he just, that's almost what it kind of feels like. It's almost like a biker movie with no bikes. And just Coffin Joe's just this guy who you're not too sure. Like there's like that mixed match. Is like, is he a real person or is he some kind of like supernatural being or whatnot?
Don't ever sit on another man's bike. Like I could see him saying that if gosh, it's pretty hilarious.
It is. And then I love how like he just mangles people up and then people like apologize back to him like, I'm sorry, I was out of line.
It reminds me of the I don't know if you've ever seen if you're pretty familiar with the old Twilight Zone.
Mm-hmm.
You remember the one with the little boy? He could do things with his mind, like he turned the guy into a Jack in the Box, and
Yeah.
like, we're sorry, Coffin Joe. We really liked what you did to his face. That was a good job. You know.
That's actually exactly what it feels like. It feels like it's some kind of weird Twilight Zone episode where like everybody puts up with this bully guy and whatnot. No, but why we're not too sure, but they know something we don't.
But yeah, no, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, I'm gonna watch the second one for sure.
It'd be interesting because this is the start of the there's the trilogy or whatnot, and
I want to look into his other films too.
Yeah, he's got a bunch of other stuff too. Because I just kind of pieced together. I'm like, oh, dude, he must be like the Vincent Price or Brazil for sure.
Oh,
like,
yeah, that makes
100%
sense.
what he was. Sound like he hosted some kind of like horror shows, literally just like Vincent Price did, and so on like that. You know, and so yeah, there seems like there's a lot of cool stuff there. I even saw like they put him in like a float or something in like one of the parades and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
you know, it's one of those ones where it's like the Coffin Joe is like a huge deal. Yeah, which is weird because it's like when you really think of like the archetype of the character, you're like, wow, that's the guy that stands out.
Yeah, and if you're famous, like semi-famous in Brazil, people remember you out there because they're super poor. I mean, excuse me, one of our dollars is $5 of theirs right now. I think it's almost $6 right now. But obviously, I think the biggest thing to come out of Brazil musically is possibly Sepultura.
Yeah.
As far as metal goes, anyway. And then Crypto, the new, they've been around for 4 years, I think. The all-female metal band. We've seen them a couple times. That's fantastic. But there was a kind of like, I don't know what they consider them in Brazil, but I think of like skate rock, kind of a gentler punk and thrash, but not really thrash, but called Charlie Brown Jr. was another one.
Okay, I've heard of that. Yeah,
great musicians. He died though, but people remember, like, even if they're small, like if they're like really appreciating Brazil, you're gonna find it somewhere or another. And of course, this guy here in Missouri had sparked that flame back up and was like, oh yeah, Coffin Joe, blah blah blah. I'm like, Coffin Joe, fuck, oh that's it. But yeah, no, it's interesting what comes out of there. And like I said, when there is an act that comes out of there, like it's so important for them. Like there's so many bands that try pretty hard, but they never make it because they either can't get their hands on the equipment they need to continue making music, or they just don't get bookings because it's almost impossible down there. That's what when my wife and I went back last year about this time. She had the idea that just having more money would be able to solve a lot of stuff down there for her family and stuff, and be able to, like, her mom was sleeping on a bed that she had for like 25 years or something, and we got her a new one, and that was almost impossible. Just trying to find a way to get the thing delivered, and then the box spring didn't fit going up the staircase, so we tried to get it just sent back, and then we were going to buy another one that came in 2 pieces. They're like, nope. Too bad.
You bought it, yeah.
And I'm like,
and in the U.S., people literally just throw them out on the side of the road when they're like half used.
oh God, throwaway country, man. Everything. It's gross. When you leave this country and you go somewhere else and you see how people are living, and just how unobtainable most things are, and then you come here and it's like everything you need is almost at Walmart.
Literally.
And then it's throwaway society. I'll get off that soapbox, but it's just
no, but it's 100% true. Yeah. I mean, that's literally like what Laura's dad does. He sends stuff back to Mexico all the time. He'll just load up a box of stuff that he can get way cheaper in the U.S., way more easier to use, and just send it back over there. And all the stuff that they can't easily get down there, that
exactly.
is literally stuff that's like you wouldn't even question. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, you can't get that? But it's like, yeah, no, there's a lot of those things that are.
I actually. I'm trying to not throw away stuff and just try to find homes for it, because waste sucks.
I hate throwing stuff away. It's always kind of bothered me. I feel like I always want to at least give it away. I want to at least recycle it at the next step. And it's just with so many things.
The finally today. So when I was at Best Buy this morning, I didn't plan on buying it, but I did because I used to have a Sony Explode boombox, and then you could play. It did radio, of course, but it was a single CD and a cassette, and that was one of the best devices for playing music I'd ever had. It sounded so good. And when I moved back to California, I had to get rid of a lot of stuff that I couldn't ship to myself, and I couldn't take in my Corolla. And that was one of the things. I got rid of it. If you find them you can only find them on eBay, and they're going to be about $100. And half the time their antennas are broke or something. I'm like, I'm not paying for this. And I've been looking for a decent something that plays CDs and cassettes. So this morning, I when I was at Best Buy, I cruised around looking to see if I could find any CD stereo setups. Nothing. Like nobody seems to sell CD receivers anymore. You can get the receivers that you hook up to speakers and stuff.
Yeah, but not,
as far
not
as
like
disc
not
changers,
boombox. Yeah,
disc changers are like, I guess, non-existent. What they had a million of was different Bluetooth speakers, and I mean like giant, not just little portable ones. And I guess it's just the way the world's going. But what I did find was two boom boxes, one for $30 and one for $60. But the one for $60, I guess it said because of the open box, it's discounted. I don't know if it was a return or whatever, but it looked fine. So I got it for $30.
Somebody just put their grubby hands in it a couple of times.
Yeah, exactly. So
just Coffin Joe'd it up a bit.
I'll give it a good sniff. I'll give it a good whiff before I clean it off. But so I can keep that dander going. I'll pass it on to something else I own.
Exactly.
But no, I was like, finally, because months I got 500 CDs sitting behind me, and I've been wanting to play half of them, and I can't.
Well, and the true thing is that CD still is the best sounding way to listen to music.
It is. When I was still in college, before I decided college sucked and left, I did a report in my public speaking class about why people should buy physical media items, and the fact that CD is the best sounding format. I know a lot of people will crucify somebody for saying that, like a lot of the vinyl enthusiasts, which I got a stack of vinyls over there too.
Yeah.
The difference is CD has the perfect sound, but not everyone likes that perfect sound. Some people want that more organic and raw kind of soft sound that the vinyls produce. And I really want to get a good vinyl setup. Once again, we were talking earlier about priorities and that. Yeah.
Well, it's the same way with like a CRT TV and whatnot. Like, realistically, the CRT TV, it's the nostalgicness, it's the smooth picture. Like, that's why you choose that for what you want. If you're going to watch a VHS, they definitely look much better watching a VHS on a CRT TV because that's what it's looking for. Not,
undoubted.
Not even on HD one. The same thing with like a Super Nintendo or any N64 is another good example of a system too. It just looks better on a CRT TV, and that's the same way I kind of feel there. But like, the CD, though, is just like the sound quality. It's like it's that one, too. I just remember, like, for the longest time, once you're listening to Spotify and digital files and all that kind of stuff, and you whip a CD back in your car and you go, holy fuck, like, it sounds so much more clear. There's so much more depth going on. Just because, it's like the thing is, the digital files generally, they're much more compressed. Where, like, on a CD, it's like, no, they fill that CD up for the most part, and, you're getting all the quality.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, gosh, we're going to on Tuesday. We're going up to just west of Kansas City to a town called Lawrence, Kansas, to see Zach Sabbath.
Oh, and there you go.
I've seen him once. Pretty great. In fact, these days I'm more excited to see Zach Sabbath than I shouldn't admit this on camera, but I'm almost more excited to see Zach Sabbath than Black Label Society, and because he sounds so similar to Ozzy Osbourne in his range, and those last two records that the Zach Sabbath cover band put out were so good. The first one was the first album, and then the was the Black Sabbath album. As Zach Sabbath, they called it Vertigo, and it was like putting on that album by Black Sabbath, but injecting it with like steroids and just like massive power boosts. And it just was like, so much more. There was so much more just, it was booming with energy,
Yeah.
And then, and of course, Zach Sabbath is, of course, Zach Wild on guitar and vocals. Joey Castillo from Queens of Stone Age on drums.
Okay.
And Blasco from I think Rob Zombie, I think.
Oh, okay.
Is the bassist for Rob Zombie, I believe. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty positive. I'm not super familiar with his work. But anyway, so it's just a 3-piece, and they do a fantastic job. And the second album he put out earlier this year was the second and third albums by Black Sabbath. Mm-hmm. And once again, just great work. But what's cool is they are touring with Zoso, which is a Led Zeppelin cover band.
Okay.
And the Iron Maidens, the all-female Iron Maiden cover band. So
yeah.
It's kind of a trifecta of like metal legendary, just whatever. I don't know. It's
yeah, and just sweet cover form and so on like that. No, that's badass.
Yeah, and I every time I go to one of the shows, I usually try to pick up a CD, and once again, I've had nothing to play them on. What's funny is I put a CD into it was either my Xbox or my PS5, and wouldn't play, and I had to download an app, and I think it was the Xbox, and
well, the Xbox you literally have to download the Blu-ray player as well too.
Stupid. Well, what the heck? But whatever.
It's kind of funny is like you mentioned that because I've always wanted to see the Zach Sabbath every single time that like I see it kind of comes around because that just sounds like an interesting one there no matter what. And you've always talked so highly about the performances and so on. Speaking of even kind of like cover band sort of, but as went to go see. Technically, it was L.A. Guns was playing, and it was in Roseville area, and they were fucking badass. And beforehand, they had just like the old man, like.
Isn't there 2 L.A. Guns? Isn't there? Pretty sure that the original L.A. Guns.
You think of Hollywood Rose?
Maybe. I'm pretty sure there was 2 versions of L.A. Guns, because the original band, I think.
Well, this is still Tracy Guns, which is like he's the original guitar player and everything like that. I think the singer changed, but he changed early on, so he's been there for longer probably than the original guy.
Okay, there is 2 LA Guns. So you saw the Tracy Guns version.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So there's a Tracy Guns version, and then there's a Riley's version. Basically, both versions tour and play classic LA Guns songs. As well as new music. But they I guess it was 2 members that Steve Riley, I guess he split from the original group. And then
I think that's the original singer, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, wait, I think he's dead now.
Oh, well, maybe
Steve Riley.
Well, that's sort of like Rat does something similar. So, like, when you go to see Rat, you don't go see Rat because Rat is just the drummer of Rat that for some way swindled the entire name from everybody else. And then Stephen Piercy is kind of like getting the true Rat experience because, he's the singer and everything like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Steve Riley. He was a drummer for LA Guns, Wasp, and Keel. Never heard of Keel.
I gotta say this. I love when the drummer somehow, some way is able to carry the whole band.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
It'd be funnier if it was well, never mind. I'm going to keep my mouth shut because I'm not a musician. But yeah, no, that's pretty interesting. The only drummer that I know that was a vocalist was the dude for Under Oath, and I don't really even know much of their music. Mm-hmm. I wasn't a huge fan; it just wasn't my cup of tea.
Yeah, but, I always kind of felt kind of radio rock-ish.
But I think it's pretty incredible though to be able to do the vocals, especially that kind of music, and also be the drummer is something else. But
I think not on everything, but the Treyu drummer, who also went to Somerville High School for a moment.
I hated Treyu.
Well, whatever he sings, that's what I was just getting at. I remember, because growing up, it's like that was like the legend. It's like, oh, the Treyu drummer went to school, whatever, 10 years before everybody or whatnot. And then at one of the Ozfest, it's like that he was standing there but he was one row up where you had to get past security to get him. We're we didn't remember what his name was, so we're just yelling out stuff trying to get his attention. And he's like, damn it, he can't hear us at all. I was like, I just want to ask him that question, see if that myth is true, but learned later on that it was.
God, that made me it made me think about a quote that I heard today that I thought was pretty fantastic enough for me to forget, of course. Have you ever watched the show The Boys?
Negative. I have one of the omnibuses of the comics, but I've not even got around to that yet either.
Pretty great show. I gotta say, I'd heard about The Boys a while back. Actually, the first time I heard about The Boys was before it was even a show. Years ago, before I went into the Air Force and I was still in Comcast. First time, I was doing cable in a guy's house. He was kind of an asshole, but he had a lot of cool comics, and he had a big book full of The Boys. I was like, Boys. And, I just said like, oh, cool books, man. I like comics, you know. And he's like, yeah, I'm getting through with The Boys. And I'm like, oh, neat, you know. And at the time, I'm like, oh, fuck The Boys is whatever. And then down the road, I saw it was an Amazon show. I'm like, huh. I never get it the time of day. And now they just got done with season 4 a little while back, I think. And then season 5 will be out probably I think it's supposed to be out in like 2026 or something. But the awesome show. It's so, for one, brutal. You might have said it, I don't know, because I wasn't listening. But the animated series called Invincible, that's also on Amazon. I don't know if you heard of that.
Yeah, I know of that one too. I've never seen it either, but
so I've only watched one episode, maybe 2, of that. Also really cool, really brutal, but I've just been watching other stuff. But so that's one I'll have to catch up on too. But the similarities between the two is they're just so dang brutal, and they're not for kids. But what I like about The Boys is a big aspect on the anti-hero kind of roles. And what's I think so great about that show is just how there's no glory to being a superhero in the show. There's no, like, they're not cool people. They suck. They're all a bunch of scumbags. And like murderers, rapists, just like total dirtbags who are just in it. They're basically celebrities. They're just getting rich off of people's, vicarious affection. And it's awesome. It's awesome to see some of them getting taken down by this group of ragtag. It's kind of one of those like the unlikely alliances between people that have never met and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's a really good one to watch. Carl Urban.
I always like Carl Urban.
For the first couple seasons, he plays the lead. You might even say he plays the lead in the third, but I guess it's neither here nor there. But I love his character. He's pretty hilarious. He's a former British SAS on a mission to find his wife and blah, blah, blah. But awesome show. But anyways, just when you said Atreyu, I remember a quote from one of the characters today. He said, "I'd rather stick my dick in a glass full of." It was something terrible, and that's me and Atreyu.
That's like one of those bands I remember back in the day. It used to be like, it didn't matter what concert you went to, they were always there. It was like, it was guaranteed that they were going to be one of the openers.
What stinks is when you meet people and you have a lot of similar interests and you're starting to get along really well, and then they're like, yeah, dude, here, let me play this. I know you like this. You gotta like these guys, and you're like, I gotta go home. There's something, like, I don't want to offend you. I like you, but this is dog shit. I don't want to listen to this.
You just gotta pull a Coffin Joe and get out of there.
Exactly. I gotta stand up on the bar and then kick him in the face. But
go over to the Jesus statue and grab the crown of thorns and just slap it upside the guy's fucking head.
Yeah. No,
make him pick up your fucking money off the ground.
Do you use Spotify?
I do use Spotify. That's kind of my main way I listen to tunes nowadays. And I mean, the main thing I just love about Spotify is the fact that, like, I have found so many new bands that I would never have found by buying CDs alone. Same with just being able to listen to, like, because back in the day, if I really, really, really liked a band, I would collect the majority of their CDs. But that was really only very few and far between. For the most part, you're just grateful to have a greatest hit CD because you could only get so many bands. So that's what you kind of lived off of for a lot of things. And then I remember when Spotify was like, oh, now I can just go through the entire discography of all these bands. And just
I feel exactly the same way. And the reason why I have 500 CDs on my shelf is because I have a problem. But
yeah,
I can honestly say that a lot of those CDs I bought because I genuinely wanted that artist's contribution physically. Now, a lot of those I found in thrift stores and stuff, and I'm like, that's a cool band. For 50 cents, I'm going to buy it. It's going to go right on my shelf, right? You know, but yeah. And there was a point where I got rid of like 100 because I'm like, I'm never going to listen to this. And I don't even like this band. I don't even like this kind of music. So of course I said goodbye. But what was I going to say? But yeah, the Spotify 2024 Wrapped playlist. Did you see what yours?
I love that part. That's like one of the things I look more forward to than like anything else.
Was yours about what you expected this year?
Generally, there was a couple like odd ones. I mean, sometimes some of the songs I do notice is like, okay, because Spotify will a lot of times throw shit in there.
Oh yeah.
And like every single time you play something and like the album ends, it'll just start playing the random thing. And if you're so there's some songs where it's like I'm like, well, literally, I didn't choose to listen to that song as much as it did. It just kept popping up on like every single playlist you made for me.
Mine was a culmination of a few things. There's times when I go drive to either KC or wherever, it doesn't matter, go to work or whatnot, and I'm too lazy to change the music, so I just let it play, continue,
Yeah, and, that happens to me too, and that's where some of those songs start to come in.
And then I get into some pretty heavy moods with music where I'm just gonna on my 2024 thing, it said that I listen to Gojira for 6 days straight. And which didn't surprise me at all. I mean, I love the band; it's fantastic. But my playlist this year was like none before. So it was. I'm just going to admit it. It was like 95% K-pop, and I can't help it. It's so damn catchy.
Well, it's one of those ones like I'm a little bit biased because I'm kind of like J-pop. I kind of hit that one hard.
If I knew more J-pop, I'd probably listen to it.
Yeah,
the only J-pop I know is from like Dragon Ball. Yeah,
well, most of the stuff it stems from an anime, and then you go farther. But like, I have a lot of J-pop. See, that's a perfect example. I would never be able to find all those bands if Spotify didn't exist. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Where are you gonna find those CDs in an American music store?
Well, and that's the thing. So like, some of the. Not just some of, but most of the K-pop songs, if they're even on my liked songs or whatever, it brings some nostalgia to me, it's funny because there's no Korean anything in my history, except for the fact that like my dad lived in Korea when he was young, but that was before I was a twinkle in his eye, and he actually incidentally caused a big explosion on a South Korean military base when he was a kid, and his father and his mother were in the CIA. It sounds like I'm making it up, but it's true. And they lived in a few different countries when he was growing up as a kid, him and his two brothers. And when they were in South Korea, he liked to make paper boats and float them down a stream and then set them on fire and watch them sink. Like, my dad was a psychopath.
Yeah, but, pyromaniac,
So apparently where they were living, it makes sense considering their profession, but it wasn't very far away from a South Korean military base. And I guess there was a depot of fuel that was on that base that was somehow leaking into this creek. And my dad lit a boat and it went back to, and it exploded some barrels and caused a bunch of damage. I mean, he didn't destroy the base, but it was a big deal. They called him, I guess, in the local newspapers, my uncle, who's like, I think he's like 75 right now, 76 maybe. He was telling me that the Korean newspapers were, putting in there saying like they didn't know who did it. They didn't know how it happened. They were saying it was the mystery hero of the North, North Korea. Had
you pulled a Coffin Joe right there.
Yeah, but
It just caused some havoc.
and I guess my uncle told me that because my dad's dead. He told me that after when that happened, he said my dad hid for like 2 days because he wasn't afraid of authorities. He was afraid of his dad.
Yeah.
Whooping his ass. But yeah, there was that. But why did I bring that up?
I was to say where they like blew the shit out of that, and then where was that leading for the K-pop? Is this is where your K-pop
yeah, so there's my history with Korea, which has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
But no, why some of these older K-pop songs had even resonated with me was I heard a song that sounded like music from a Sonic the Hedgehog game, and it just I liked hearing it. I don't know if you remember from the Sonic Adventure, the first one, where you could play as Big the Cat, and go through this like it looked like some bizarre casino or something. This like big electric looking city, and the music was very reminiscent of that part of that game. And so I just kept playing these songs and whatever, and I felt like I was a kid again playing Sonic Adventure. But
that Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 has an amazing soundtrack. So
I never finished that one. I finished Sonic Adventure 2 at one point. I feel like that was much more of a traditional style gameplay than Sonic Adventure, the first one.
The first one's got more adventure type stuff in it, but I'm very.
The second was more linear.
Yeah, I'm more partial to number 1, just because that was the Dreamcast was the very first system I ever was able to.
That's what I had it on.
Right when it came out, like, because all the other systems I ever owned before, like I always had them like almost like when it was time to get the new system.
Yeah,
it's kind of like I got a Sega Genesis, and only like a year later PlayStation and Saturn and all that stuff came out.
I love my Dreamcast. I wish I never got rid of it.
That's a system that I always say this. I'm like, and it's
well
like literally like
time.
about 2, because it really has just about 2 solid years of like gaming on there. But I'm like, I can't think of another system that has like compare 2 years out of any other system that has that many good games. I mean, specifically a 2-year period. There's nothing that has that.
Everything they had going on for it was so ahead of its time with the online capabilities. The graphics were fantastic. And there were some awesome titles. And I wonder, like, what happened, Sega? Why'd you fall off?
My biggest theory, like always on that one, as being there in the time period when it happened and everything and watching it from the beginning to end, is I think the DVD thing was really what screwed them over. They should have put a DVD player in there. That would have kept because that was the upside of the Dreamcast, is it was a very cheap system. It was $200 when it came out. Like, $200 back then is probably like $400 nowadays, but still, it was like way cheaper than everything else at the time, and that was like kind of the thing. But the downfall is I think that DVD player thing, because PlayStation 2 is just right behind it in Japan, and the DVD player was really what made the PS2 sell. If the PS2 didn't have the DVD player in it, it might be a way different story. I feel like the Dreamcast could have literally gone on much longer and kind of rode alongside.
Yeah.
Granted, I do think that if you really look at the Xbox is really like the spiritual successor. It's like Dreamcast 2. The controller is pretty much identical with just a handful of more buttons,
Especially with that controller. That was the first thing I thought of. I was like, somebody's stealing ideas over here.
Yeah, it's literally like that. Because that's the thing. It's like when I always look at the Xbox, I'm like, dude, it's literally just, that's like the modern day, Sega controller, realistically, at the end of the day.
Oh, it is.
So that's why
I always wonder too, with those giant Xbox controllers that they first had. I'm like,
the Duke.
Who would they have test this out? Shaq?
I love that controller. I'm the ones I don't have big hands, but I love big controllers. Like I love the Duke. I like the Wii U gamepad. It was super comfortable. I I even like just the original Sega Genesis controller, like that kind of big fat like disc one. I
love just wrapping my hands around something nice and big.
Big, yeah. I don't want one of these little teeny ones. I want big old massive.
Big old controller. I need a good solid 13 inches of controller.
I love how like the thing was that they learned of like the Duke and like other big controllers is that like that it scared Asian people away. That was like it's just too big.
Too big. Oh, so big controller. American controllers.
Japanese
controller. So small.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. It's like the PlayStation, because I used to think PlayStation controllers were always one of those ones. It's like they were always so small for the longest time. Like they only just recently made them like in a sense, a good size.
Yeah, it's actually funny when you get a PS1 controller and you put it next to the PS5. You're like, what is this tiny little thing?
Yeah, it's just one of those. There was always that controller PS1, 2, and 3. I always kind of was like, it just never was up to par to the other systems. I always thought, I'm like, it's not bad, but it's not as good as a Nintendo, Sega, or Xbox controller.
I just got in the mail. I say I just got it. I got it like 7 months ago. Was a couple of wireless PS2 controllers. They're third party. Well, third party. They're probably like 45th party.
Yeah, like Chinese party.
The Communist Party controllers. The reason why is because the normal PS2 controllers I have, the cord's this long, and my couch is very far away from my TV, and I want to keep playing Champions of Norath with my wife. And did you ever start that, by the way?
No, I haven't, and I feel bad because I bought you told me about it. I bought the game. Literally, I bought it. It's there. I just need to sit down and play it.
That's an awesome game. That's an awesome game, and I feel like the graphics still hold up.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's great.
The nice thing about PS2 era is that there's not a lot of games there that I feel like that ever feel too archaic or anything on there. Unless somebody just didn't have their gameplay in check. All those games are pretty easy to go back to.
I'm still playing. The other day, my wife laughs every time I turn it on. Katamari Damacy.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
I love that game. It's so stupid.
Yeah, got the goofy tunes and all that stuff in it too.
Catchy and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Another Japanese classic.
See, when you listen to K-pop or even J-pop, now that's kind of a broad genre. So it's like, do you listen to the metal style? Is that what you go towards?
Yes and no. So yes, if I can find it. There's actually a female Korean metal band that's going to be in KC soon. I'm going to try to go see them. But no, as far as I don't know very many other K-pop or metal Korean groups though. There is so many different kind of K-pop though. Like just I don't know how to put it. Like I keep wanting to say fads, but it's like concepts, different concepts. Some of them are just so terrible and cringy. But a lot of the ones that I really like are older. I want to say like 15 years old at least. But the Japanese stuff, I don't know if I know any Japanese pop. If it's not Korean, it's probably Chinese that I'm listening to. But the Japanese stuff that I've found that I really enjoyed is the rock and metal. Like I don't know if you've ever heard of Miyavi.
Mm-hmm.
Miyavi's pretty fantastic. He's an excellent guitarist. He was the star in the Brad Pitt's wife, or his ex-wife, Angelina Jolie.
Okay.
Miyavi was the star in her movie Unbroken. He was the Japanese officer who was beating the crap out of the white guy who liked to run.
Okay, yeah.
I guess I could have said the main character. But no, I'll run for you. But no, he was the main Japanese character in that movie, and but he's an excellent guitarist. I keep trying to see him, but the thing with some of these Asian performers is their management don't ever advertise their tours, and by the time I find one, it's like no joke. This has happened to me twice. There's a group that my wife and I both like, K-pop, and it was like 2 a.m. and I'm laying in bed. I'm like, I wonder if that. I got a song in my head. I'm like, I wonder if they're going to be touring. I pick up my phone, so-and-so tour. It says Kansas City, November 7th. And I'm like, what's today? November 6th. And I'm like, how does this happen? But intuition, it's crazy. But so it's those chemtrails, dude. But anyway, going forward with the J-Rock. Another one's called X Japan. You've probably heard of.
I know X Japan. Yeah,
super cool group. I think the guitarist died a while back.
I think that might be true. Yeah,
but no, Juliana showed me a bunch of that, and I love the Japanese metal. Another one, they're kind of a stoner sludge metal. They're called Boris. I don't know if you know Boris.
Yeah.
But Boris is really great. It spells just like it sounds, Boris. Another one, they're not Japanese though. The Who. I think they're Mongolian.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, they are Mongolian.
They're very cool too.
Yeah, that was a cool like folk metal type thing. But yeah, there's so many things, and because a lot of the ones I like is I generally gear towards the ones that have that kind of like heavy metal kind of
Oh yeah, of course.
mixed match in it. But like there's one too. I remember like speaking of like you said like they'll have those tours once in a blue moon in America and they'll just like kind of come out of there. I remember there's a band I really liked from Japan called Brideer. Kind of spelled like Bry and then deer. And it's one of those ones that's an all-female metal band where they legitimately all play their instruments and so on like that, not like one of those kind of like created ones.
Brideer, like Brian and Deer?
Yeah, like Bridear, Brideer, strange name. But like, it probably means something different in Japan, but it's one of those ones like that they actually were playing in Sacramento once, but it was like on those goofy like Wednesday, like total middle of the week on one of those odd ones like, oh man. And I'm kind of kicking myself for not seeing that.
Another peculiar one that I'm interested in seeing, I really want to. It's a female group, and it seems like kind of a crazy punk thrash group called. I think it's called Otokolta Beaver. Let me see here. Otoboke Beaver.
Okay.
Japanese punk rock band from Kyoto, formed in 2009.
Some of those punk rock ones could be fun. I remember there was a couple. I did see a couple of those concerts. There's one I saw called like Peelander Z, and probably if you listen to them, it's probably not that great of music. But like concert wise, it was fun as fuck.
That's the thing. There's so many bands. I say so many, but I've only experienced a couple that I don't like as bands, as their music, their studio music. I just don't care for. Disturbed. I don't give a crap about Disturbed.
No, but Disturbed's actually not bad in concert. Yeah.
But I've heard they put on a really great show. What's another one? Trivium. I really don't like Trivium that much, but I've seen them live twice, and they put on a really nice show.
Yeah, I mean, I do like me some Trivium, but yeah.
I don't think they're bad or anything. I just
it's just not for you. Yeah.
It doesn't do nothing for me. Like I don't listen to it and get mad or anything. I'm like, I usually just change it. There's only one band I can say that I've seen, and I can't do it. It made me mad, and that was this band called Lorna Shore.
Oh,
now,
okay, yeah.
I know they're a very popular band. They're not like insanely huge, but they're not a small band by any means. But I saw them when I saw Mastodon and Gojira together last year, and I'd never seen them before. I didn't know what they sounded like. I didn't want to be there. It was just, man, it wasn't for me to be nice about it.
Is that one of those kind of like screamo type bands?
Yes,
yeah,
insanely. Okay. And I've seen a handful of that kind of music, like August Burns Red. I guess some people say they're not screamo, bro. It's metalcore, and I'm going to say, well, it's still, no, I don't like it. But
yeah.
It's funny because years ago, I used to think August Burns Red was fantastic, but it was like something in my head clicked, and I'm like, dude, this just isn't that good. I can't deal with it. Now, of course, you as well. We know many metal acts that are not soft on their vocals. They're yelling, screaming, whatever. But whatever they're doing it right.
It is such a weird one when you think about like the screaming vocals. Like it's one of those ones like I can go to a Cradle of Filth show and I go, I love the living daylights out of this, and then there'll be some other band that scream the whole time. It's like, not for me.
It's got to be. I don't know if it's a pitch, if it's a tone or something, but I'm like, dude, I'd rather listen to my dead grandparents fuck. Like I don't know. But yeah, it's just weird. But yeah, that was terrible. Now, what's funny though is that Lorna Shore fucking hated it, but then it goes to Mastodon and Gojira, which it's not like they're not screaming. They are. It's just it's different. It's different. And it's funny. This dude I used to hang out with years ago. He hated Metallica. He didn't like Mastodon. He didn't like Ozzy Osbourne. He didn't like Baroness. He didn't like all these bands I was showing him, High on Fire. And then he'd play for me. I remember he played this group called We Came as Romans. And
I've heard that name, but I couldn't tell you anything about them.
and then another band that sounds kind of similar to them called Of Mice and Men. Two of the worst bands I've ever heard in my life. Just like one of those. I don't like saying this because I feel bad a little bit, but at the same time, I mean, if you're going to put yourself out there, be ready for the criticism. And that's the fact that they sounded like prepubescent, just turds. I mean, it was like they got kicked in the balls and then decided to say their vocals.
You go out there and scream about it now.
It's so bad. It's so bad. And
yeah, well, when I hear titles like that, those band names, like when they have like that, like that long, like I don't know, like like I don't know, like that's always like the one that's like you kind of lose me at that like title. I'm already not saying that there's a handful of bands I like that do have a name like that, but you know, a lot of times when I hear those band titles, I'm like I can kind of tell we're not going in a place I'm going to care for as much.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few shows I'd really love to see in the coming year. It all depends on funding, of course. But I saw Ghost. I love Ghost. Ghost is such a band with so many mixed reviews, but I take them for what they're worth and I like them. And they're playing in KC. I know that's going to be an expensive one, and it pisses me off because I saw them in 2014 for $20.
Those days are almost gone. Those like $20.
You know,
well, I take back that LA Guns concert was like that, but
stupid.
I kind of feel bad for that when you're a bunch of older guys and you're getting the $20 shows.
It's so dumb, but yeah, it's like you know, we'll take what we can get. But yeah, so Ghost is one that I'm hoping to see. They're going to be up in KC. Do you know Ninja Sex Party?
Yes, I love Ninja Sex Party. I literally, speaking of Spotify wrap up last year, I was in their top like 0.1% fans.
That's hilarious and not surprising. I mean, they're hilarious and
they're fucking
great
amazing.
Band.
Them, Starbomb, all their spinoff stuff.
Yeah, they're going to be playing up in KC. Psycho Stick. I don't know if you know Psycho Stick.
Yes, that's a great band too.
They're going to be playing in Springfield. I saw them in KC years ago. That was an awesome time. And then
if that's the case, I got to look that up to see if they're going to be playing in Sacramento or something.
There was another group, and now I can't remember, so I guess it's not that important. But I don't know. Handful of shows I hope to see, but if I don't. I don't think I told you. I believe I'm going to be getting on to be a cable guy again.
You did mention that. I think you're tempting the waters of that with what was Spectrum.
Spectrum, yeah, Spectrum, Charter Spectrum. The cool thing is they pay more than Comcast is paying out in California, and my cost of living are cheaper here. So
win-win. Well, Comcast in California really paid like $2 over minimum wage, so that was the funny part.
It's insane, man.
for literally, you're gonna do like 5 times more work than anybody doing minimum wage,
and half the time, super dangerous stuff. You know, like
stuff that like there's so many things that's like you could die right here, and maybe they'll find you.
So stupid, but
you know, the customer will probably just come out there with a shovel and just push you out to the street and go back to your day, and be pissed that the cable wasn't finished.
Like my second round with Comcast was, I was so disappointed. It was just it got so much worse. I'm like, I'm out of here, man. You know, back to where my boss's boss gives me a phone that doesn't work in the area that I'm working in. I'm like, dude, how do you expect me to do my work? Like,
nobody has any
because it wants you to use other apps. You know, like just drive. The solution too is drive around until you find a house that you can log onto their Wi-Fi and get the job done.
So yeah.
So here I am 5 miles away from the house I'm supposed to be at, you know, so I can check their stupid levels, you know, but we're not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, you just take the Coffin Joe approach to everything in life from this point forward.
Oh yeah, I carry around a crown of thorns with me.
Yeah, so someone gives you shit, you just fucking bully them, slap them around a bunch. They're not gonna do anything. The only person going to do something to you is some crazy witch lady who puts a spell on you at the very end of the movie. I will say, like, going back to that movie, I know we're doing the most roundabout way there, but, like, the ending of that movie is weird. He bullies the town for, like, the first, like, hour plus of that movie. And then for some reason, some witch lady comes out, bullies him a bit, and it really gets to him. And like everything she said starts to come true. You know what I mean? He runs across the black cat. He sees the lightning in the sky. He sees the corpses of everything else, and he starts to freak out from it. Like he literally gets this mental breakdown after all this bullying. This one crazy like witch lady, you know, who's like the other crazy, I guess, of the town, puts everything over the edge and makes him just literally break down and eyes bulging out, freak out. Stroke of midnight.
You just said over the edge. Have you seen that movie?
Yes, with the arm wrestling one.
It was
Stallone. Oh no, I think over the top. What was That's what I was saying. Yeah, I was like, wait a second, what's I did the same? Like over the top. I'm like, that's not it. Over the edge.
No, over the edge. It was Matt Dillon's.
That's an LA Gun song though too.
No, over the edge. I think it was Matt Dillon's first movie. It's about all the kids that are growing up in the suburban area with nothing to do, and then they just destroy the town.
Yeah, that's right. I have, but a very
I just
long
watched
time
that.
ago.
Fantastic movie.
Yeah, God, and Matt Dillon's was kind of fun, anyways. I got that confused once again. Stallone and like his like cross country road trip and like a semi truck trying to bond with his son that's like a little bitch.
You know what's hilarious is they made fun of that in Dexter's Laboratory.
That's like one of those ones that would have taken like a moment to get that. Like that's like the best part if you go back.
Nobody's gonna understand that.
Yeah, you go back and you watch Dexter's Lab / you watch like Johnny Bravo or any of those things. Like there's so many of those references that like you missed like when you first watched them as a kid.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'd like to have a collection of all those and just burn right through them.
Yeah. For a while there, they were on HBO Max. You could go through them because they had the Cartoon Network combined in. I'm not too sure if that's still the case, but yeah, it's like one of those ones. It's like, yeah, there's something to be said. That's like one of those ones where it's like I kind of like to have like some of those DVD. I know we were talking about that probably last time, but like I like to have those DVD sets. There's certain shows of like just growing up that like, even if they might be on streaming and so on like that, like it's just nice that I like to have them just on my DVDs. At least I know that like those handful of shows that I really, really enjoy, I can always go to.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, it's like there's a lot of them that I had on a list of what I wanted to buy and have, but once I saw that they were on several different streaming apps or whatever, I'm like, why? I'm gonna watch them once and never touch them again. But there's some of them that are just for me, you know, like I said earlier about the nostalgia thing. I'm like, I'm definitely buying that, and it's like the Dragon Ball, so on and so forth, Inuyasha, and
oh yeah, that's always a good one. Yeah, no, there's some of them that are, but at the same time, I've been doing that much recently where like I do that thing where I make sure I try to look, because I used to just kind of buy stuff when I want it. I go, oh, pump the brakes, just see if it's on anything first.
You don't need to buy this.
Because a lot of times you go on there and you go like, let's be honest, it's on one of those streaming ones that you already have, you're already paying for.
I mean, that's me with 90% of the stuff I buy, but then I buy it.
Yeah, that's what I do too. Just like whatever, like I have the power.
I bought 2 packs of Pokemon cards the other day. The packs, the actual
did you get
pack.
Did you get the free ones at GameStop?
No, I use that for my Star Wars figures. If I don't see one that I want in store, I'll just buy one online that I don't have. But no, I bought 2 packs of Pokemon cards yesterday for my wife that I'm gonna put in her stocking for Christmas. Now that's kind of an excuse because I didn't really want the packs of Pokemon cards. I wanted the one card that was in front of the pack that was a Wooper. So I don't know why I like Wooper. But,
it's a good Pokemon.
Stupid looking Pokemon. I love those stupid looking Pokemons. Woopers, Ditto. There's a couple others out there, but I don't know.
Well, like the ones that just didn't look like that someone put a whole lot of like effort into like the design.
Here's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich minus the peanut butter and the bread. I call it a Ditto. You know.
Yeah, it's sort of like when I've just been playing through Dragon Quest 3 again, and like even though I know these are all like Akira Toriyama drawings and so on like that, but like I think of a lot of the monsters that are like created in that one. They just look like combine a seahorse with a vulture. Well, why not? There you go, monster. Boom, there it is. That's just what so many things are. It's like they just went through like the Chimera like machine. Throw 2 or 3 creatures together and boom, bada bing. There we go. Some of the draw.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's funny. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, at midnight, I'll take your soul. I think everybody needs to definitely check this thing out if you like old school
100%.
horror movies and so on like that. Now, granted, you can't just show this to anyone. That you know, some people it might be a little too old because it is old. You know, like it's one of those movies. It's a '60s movie, but since it's like kind of like Brazilian and everything like that, it feels almost like you're watching like a '40s movie.
Oh yeah.
You know,
It's old. It is a little creepy, but more hilarious in my opinion than it is creepy.
Yeah. It's that, and then but then you still get some brutality in there that's you might not expect as much. But
Yeah.
I think that Coffin Joe is definitely one of those ones that I do want to see more of this, and I'm very interested in what that 2008 movie is. That's
Yeah,
the
same.
one. It's like I want to see where that goes now, because it is one of those ones where it's like Brazil's lovable character. It's like lovable, yeah. The guy who bullies people and just takes whoever he wants and just free rapes and whatever. People die. That's not a big deal. There's always another one.
Yeah.
So yeah, but no, I think that was. I'm glad you showed me that because, as I said, I've never seen a Brazilian movie, and especially none of those old classics that apparently I've been missing out on my whole life.
Hey, there's always one or two.
There always is, but yeah, beyond all that fun stuff there, you can always check out more of the Old Man Orange podcasts, videos, comic books like Pizza Boys, and all that good stuff. We got it there on our link tree in the description. Until next time, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
Dave Candito.
And we'll see you some other time.